So hi friends, hope you and yours are safe and well. It is chilly here in New York, sending you warmth and everything that you need. I hope that you have that. I wanted to begin by not only thanking the community in Cherry Hill for having me this Shabbat, which was just a delight, also wanted to acknowledge something that they made clear to me. Many of the sweet people who go to Beth Shalom and Cherry Hill have been part of our Morning Torah community, and to be present with them in person and to know that we know each other, though we obviously have only been in the same physical space now for one weekend, is exquisite. To see friends and to say we've had, as Minna said, we've had breakfast together every day. What a glorious truth. And then to smile with each other and learn in person, there's just nothing to compare. And we lay the groundwork for that every morning by learning Torah together. So thank you, friends, for sharing such special time and for being here every day to build toward that special time. I also wanted to acknowledge, as David did a second ago, that this is a mournful day for the world and more specifically the LGBTQ community. Club Q in Colorado Springs was the site of a gun violence massacre Saturday night, where at least 5 people were killed. And there is no comparing pain to pain, but when I was looking for a resource to share in response to comfort people, I looked and remembered that my colleague, Rabbi Annie Lewis, had written a tefillah in the aftermath of the attack in 2016 on the Pulse LGBTQ nightclub in Orlando. How sad that we have a precedent for the same kind of attack, and a prayer that was written that can apply to both. And so it is important for us, friends, to, while we are getting ready, as Joyce says, for Yom Tarnagol Hodu, for Thanksgiving, and while we are cultivating gratitude and expressing it and not turning ourselves off to joy, it is very important for us to ground ourselves in the continuing work of Torah in the world. That's a good place from which to launch a short conversation about this week's Parsha, which we'll be talking about every day. The power of this moment in Parshat Toldot is that there is a transition happening generation to generation. And it's important for us to remember that the first generation is not the generation of Avraham and Sarah. It's not even the story of Terach, Avraham's father. It's an older story even than Noach, and it's probably even an older story than Adam and Chava. Because the stories in Bereshit and Genesis take place over and over and over, patterns generation to generation. In fact, that's what the word Toldot means. These are the generations. And the beginning of the Parsha is Yitzchak, Isaac, praying with Rivka and on behalf of Rivka for children. We remember that Avram and Sarah faced this complicated part of having children, and speaking personally, as a person who has consulted fertility specialists in order to have children, this is part and parcel of what it is to yearn for a future. And some of us work very hard to have children and end up not having biological children. Some of us choose not to have children. Some of us do the mitzvah of adopting children. Some of us do the deep mitzvah of fostering children. Some of us do the incredible mitzvah of educating children. So the yearning to have a child is one that I hope we understand is a very complicated one. That's where this parsha begins, being unsure about the future in a physical way. How powerful it is to talk about yearning for a future, knowing that every one of our matriarchs and patriarchs struggled with this. And for me, how blessed to have this conversation with my own mother within our Torah community right now. Hi, Ima. Good to see you. So here we are within Parshat Toldot, and I want to look at just one small section of the Parsha. The small section is when Yitzchak pleads with God. The Hebrew for this is very beautiful. Vayetar Yitzchak l'Adonai lenochach ishto. Yitzchak pleaded with God on behalf of his wife, but actually the translation here is very powerful. Vayetar Yitzchak l'Adonai lenochach ishto might also mean he prayed to God looking at his wife. knowing each other, seeing each other. It's very, very intense and gorgeous to look at those in our lives and to look at those in our world who should be in our lives, in our consciousness, and to pray for them, facing them. That's very, very complicated. So number one, I want to name that in the Jewish community there is a lot of struggle with infertility. And there is a basis for our heart's comfort in the Torah, which is it's not easy. And sometimes it doesn't happen. So let's love each other well enough to listen to each other's journeys. We should not take any of this for granted. But immediately after this praying for divine intervention, she does become pregnant. And we'll talk about that later in the Torah again. But this happens immediately, and you know the story. The Hebrew is Vayitrotzu abanim b'kirba, vatomer im kein lama ze anochi. The children struggled within her, within Rivka. And she said, Im kein lama ze anochi. If this is what it is, why am I? Which might be the Torah's way of saying, this is painful. This is hard. Now I'm speaking as a man. I don't know what it physically feels like to carry children. I do know what it is to love children. Rivka doesn't know what to do with this pain, with this struggle, which we know how this unfolds, but follow the text with me. Vatelech lidrosh et Adonai. She went to inquire of God. Vayomer Adonai, and God said back to her, Shnei goyim bevitnech. There are two nations within you, in your belly. Ushnei leumim mi me'ayich yiparedu. Two separate peoples will issue from within your body. Uleom mil'om ye'amotz v'rav ye'avod tza'ir. One people shall be mightier than the other, and the older shall serve the younger. Now in the Torah, often we see this kind of, it's called the reversal of primogeniture. It's when the oldest child, who theoretically would be the one who inherited everything, certainly the birthright and the land, the older one ends up not inheriting, and the younger one does. This happens over and over and over, including Yosef, including Yaakov, including Yitzchak. It's one of the traditions in the book of Breshit to say that the younger one should inherit, which is complicated. Complicated. But I want to point to the response that Rivka receives and bless the people, the survivors at Club Q, and bless the memories of those we lost. The idea that there's only enough love for one child is another way of saying there's only enough of God's love for some kinds of people. And God is bigger than that. And if God is bigger than that, then we must be bigger than that too. People with hate in their hearts and weapons in their hands are under the delusion that there should only be love and worth and dignity and life for some. Judaism's message is exactly the opposite of that. There is more than enough love, because there is always more of the divine to share, and everyone's value is being created equally in the image of God. So in the names of those we've lost, in the name of our matriarchs and patriarchs who just wanted life to go on, just like we do, I would bless us to hear these words. There are two nations in your womb, two separate peoples shall issue from your body. One people shall be mightier than the other, and the older shall serve the younger. I'd love us to ask the question, God, why does it need to be like that? And maybe not to ask the question, maybe to answer God, to respond to God, to challenge God and say, it doesn't need to be like that. We can live in a world where everyone receives love. Everyone is seen as worthy of love, and everyone's life is worthy of dignity in every other human being's eyes. Over and over, especially in America, with this disease of gun violence, and with a larger disease of hatred, coupled with the callous indifference from legislators and culture people, I don't even know what to say about that, that guns should be seen as beautiful and maybe even worshipped. We know that's idol worship, and we know that guns are not beautiful. People are beautiful. Every person is beautiful. Every person is worthy of love. And that is a theological truth that the Torah wants us to amplify in the world. So let's you and I read this parsha, feel compassion for Rivka and for Yitzchak, and say to God, no one's mightier than anyone else. No one has to serve anyone else. We all are called to serve each other. We are all images of God, called to serve every other image of God. May we be so blessed to remember that everyone is worthy of love and dignity. Everyone is worthy of life. May the memory of those we lost at Club Q be for an enduring blessing. May we do better. May we do better in their names. Bless you all. See you tomorrow, friends. Take care. Have a good day.